At the Three Rivers, Chu Yu liberates fire. In the last chapter, Chu Yu was seized with sudden illness as he watched the fleets of his enemy. He was borne to his tent, and his officers came in multitudes to inquire after him. They looked at each other, saying, "What a pity our general should be taken ill when Tsao's legions threaten so terribly. What would happen if he attacked?" Messengers with the evil tidings were sent to Wu, while the physicians did their best for the invalid. Lu Su was particularly sad at the illness of his patron, and went to see K-Ung-ming to talk it over. "What do you make of it?" said K-Ung-ming. "Good luck for Tsao, bad for us," said Lu. "I could cure him," said K-Ung-ming, laughing. "If you could, the state would be very fortunate," said Lu. He prayed K-Ung-ming to go to see the sick man. They went, and Lu Su entered first. Chu Yu lay in bed, his head covered by a quilt. "How are you, General?" said Lu. "My heart pains me. Every now and again I feel faint and dizzy. Have you taken any remedies?" "My gorge rises at the thought. I could not." "I saw K-Ung-ming just now, and he says he could heal you. He is just outside, and I will call him if you like. Ask him to come in." Chu bade his servants help him to a sitting position, and K-Ung-ming entered. "I have not seen you for days," said he. "How could I guess that you were unwell? How can anyone feel secure? We are constantly the playthings of luck, good or bad. Yes, heaven's winds and clouds are not to be measured. No one can reckon their comings and goings, can they?" Chu Yu turned pale, and a low groan escaped him, while his visitor went on. "You feel depressed, do you not? As though troubles were piling up in your heart. That is exactly how I feel. You need cooling medicine to dissipate this sense of oppression. I have taken a cooling draught, but it has done no good. You must get the humors into good order before the drugs will have any effect." Chu Yu began to think K-Ung-ming knew what was really the matter, and resolved to test him. "What should be taken to produce a favorable temper?" "I know one means of producing a favorable temper," replied K-Ung-ming. "I wish you would tell me." K-Ung-ming got out writing materials, sent away the servants, and then wrote a few words. "One should burn out Tsao. All is ready, but there is no east wind." This he gave to the sick general, saying, "That is the origin of your illness." Chu Yu read the words with great surprise, and it confirmed his secret opinion that K-Ung-ming really was rather more than human. He decided that the only course was to be open and tell him all. So he said, "Since you know the cause of the disease, what do you recommend as treatment? The need of a remedy is very urgent." "I have no great talent," said K-Ung-ming, "but I have had to do with men of no ordinary gifts from whom I have received certain magical books. I can call the winds and summon the rains. Since you need a southeast breeze, General, you must build an altar on the Namping Mountains, the altar of the 7 stars. It must be 9 feet high, with 3 steps, surrounded by a guard of 120 men bearing flags. On this altar I will work a spell to procure a strong southeast gale for 3 days and 3 nights. Do you approve?" "Never mind 3 whole days," said Chu Yu. "1 day of strong wind will serve my purpose, but it must be done at once and without delay. I will sacrifice for a wind for 3 days from the 20th day of the moon. Will that suit you?" Chu Yu was delighted, and hastily rose from his couch to give the necessary orders. He commanded that 500 men should be sent to the mountains to build the altar, and he told off the guard of 120 to bear the flags and be at the orders of K-Ung-ming. K-Ung-ming took his leave, went forth, and rode off with Lu Su to the mountains, where they measured out the ground. He bade the soldiers build the altar of red earth from the southeast quarter. It was 240 feet in circuit, square in shape, and of 3 tiers, each of 3 feet, in all 9 feet high. On the lowest tier he placed the flags of the 28 houses of the heavens. On the east 7, with blue flags on the north 7, with black flags on the west 7, with white flags, and on the south 7 with red flags. Around the second tier he placed 64 yellow flags, corresponding to the number of the diagrams of the Book of Divination, in 8 groups of 8. 4 men were stationed on the highest platform, each wearing a Taoist headdress and a black silk robe embroidered with the phoenix and confined with wide sashes. They wore scarlet boots and square-cut skirts. On the left front stood a man supporting a tall pole bearing at its top a plume of light feathers to show by their least movement the wind's first breathing. On the right front was a man holding a tall pole whereon was a flag with the symbol of the 7 stars to show the direction and force of the wind. On the left rear stood a man with a sword, and on the right rear a man with a censer. Below the altar were 24 men holding flags, umbrellas, spears, lances, yellow banners, white axes, red bannerols, and black ensigns. And these were spaced about the altar. On the appointed day Young-ming, having chosen a propitious moment, bathed his body and purified himself. Then he robed himself as a Taoist, loosened his locks and approached the altar. He bade Lu Su retire, saying, "Return to the camp and assist the general in setting out his forces. Should my prayers avail not, do not wonder." So Lu Su left him. Then he commanded the guards on no account to absent themselves, to maintain strict silence and to be reverent. Death would be the penalty of disobedience. Next, with solemn steps, he ascended the altar, faced the proper quarter, lighted the incense, and sprinkled the water in the basins. This done, he gazed into the heavens and prayed silently. The prayer ended, he descended and returned to his tent. After a brief rest, he allowed the soldiers by turns to go away to eat. Thrice that day he ascended the altar and thrice descended, but there was no sign of the wind. Here it may be related that Chu Yu with Chpu and Lu Su, and a certain number of military officials on duty, sat waiting in the tent till the wished-for wind should blow and the attack could be launched. Messengers were also sent to Sun Chuan to prepare to support the forward movement. Huang Kai had his fire ships ready, a score of them. The 4 parts of the ships were thickly studded with large nails, and they were loaded with dry reeds, wood soaked in fish oil and covered with sulfur, saltpeter, and other inflammables. The ships were covered in with black oiled cloth. In the prow of each was a black dragon flag with indentations. A fighting ship was attached to the stern of each to propel it forward. All were ready and awaited orders to move. Meanwhile, Tsao's 2 spies, the brothers Tsi, were being guarded carefully in an outer camp far from the river bank and daily entertained with feasting. They were not allowed to know of the preparations. The watch was so close that not a trickle of information reached the prisoners. Presently, while Chu Yu was anxiously awaiting in his tent for the desired wind, a messenger came to say that Sun Chuan had anchored at place 85 li from the camp, where he awaited news. Lu Su was sent to warn all the various commanders to be ready, the ships and their weapons, sails and oars, all for instant use, and to impress upon them the penalties of being caught unprepared. The soldiers were indeed ready for the fight and yearning for the fray, but the sky remained obstinately clear, and as night drew nigh, no breath of air stirred. "We have been cajoled," said Chu Yu. "Indeed, what possibility is there of a southeast wind in midwinter?" Young-ming would not use vain and deceitful words, replied Lu Su. Towards the 3rd watch the sound of a movement arose in the air. Soon the flags fluttered out, and when the general went out to make sure, he saw they were flowing toward the northwest. In a very short time the southeast wind was in full force. Chu Yu was, however, frightened at the power of the man whose help he had invoked. Really, the man has power over the heavens and authority over the earth. His methods are incalculable, beyond the ken of God or devil. He cannot be allowed to live to be a danger to our land of Wu. We must slay him soon to fend off later evils. So he resolved to commit a crime to remove his dangerous rival. He called 2 of the captains of his guard, Ting Feng and H. Su Sheng, and bade each take a party, one along the river, the other along the road, to the altar on the mountains. As soon as they got there, without asking questions or giving reasons, they were to seize and behead Ming. They might expect a solid reward if they brought his head. The 2 went off on their nefarious errand, one leading dagger and axemen going as fast as oars could propel them along the river, the other at the head of archers and bowmen on horseback. The southeast wind buffeted them as they went on their way. High was raised the 7 stars altar, on it prayed the sleeping dragon for an eastern wind, and straightway blew the wind. Had not the wizard exercised his mighty magic, naught had Chu Yu's skill availed. Ting Feng first arrived. He saw the guards with their flags, dropped off his steed and marched to the altar, sword in hand. But he found no Ming. He asked the guards, they told him he had just gone down. Ting Feng ran down the hill to search. There he met his fellow and they joined forces. Presently, a simple soldier told them that the evening before a small, fast boat had anchored there near a sand spit, and Ming had been seen to go on board. Then the boat had gone upriver. So they divided their party into 2, one to go by water, the other by land. H. Su Sheng bade his boatmen put on all sail and take every advantage of the wind. Before very long he saw the fugitives' boat ahead, and when near enough, stood in the prow of his own and shouted, "Do not flee, O instructor of the army. The general requests your presence." Ming, who was seated in the stern of his boat, just laughed aloud. "Return and tell the general to make good use of his men. Tell him I am going up river for a spell and will see him again another day." "Pray wait a little while," cried H. Su. "I have something most important to tell you." I knew all about it, that he would not let me go and that he wanted to kill me. That is why Ko Yun was waiting for me. You had better not approach nearer. Seeing the other ship had no sail, H. Su Sheng thought he would assuredly come up with it, and so maintained the pursuit. Then when he got too close, Ko Yun fitted an arrow to the bowstring, and standing up in the stern of his boat, cried, "You know who I am, and I came expressly to escort the instructor. Why are you pursuing him? One arrow would kill you, only that would cause a breach of the peace between 2 houses. I will shoot and just give you a specimen of my skill." With that he shot, and the arrow whizzed overhead, cutting the rope that held up the sail. Down came the sail trailing in the water, and the boat swung round. Then Ko Yun's boat hoisted its sail, and the fair wind speedily carried it out of sight. On the bank stood Ting Feng. He bade his comrade come to the shore and said, "He is too clever for any man, and Ko Yun is bravest of the brave. You remember what he did at Tangyang Slope. All we can do is to return and report." So they returned to camp and told their master about the preparations that Ming had made to ensure safety. Chu Yu was indeed puzzled at the depth of his rival's insight. "I shall have no peace day or night while he lives," said he. "At least wait till Tsao is done with," said Lu Su. And Chu Yu knew he spake wisely. Having summoned the leaders to receive orders, first he bade Kan Ning take with him the false deserter Tsi Chung and his soldiers and go along the south bank, showing the flags of Tsao till they reached the Black Forest Wu Lin, just opposite the enemy's main store of grain and forage. Then they were to penetrate as deeply as possible into the enemy's lines and light a torch as a signal. Tsi Chung's brother was to be kept in camp for another purpose. The next order was for Taishi Tzu. He was to lead 2 companies as quickly as possible to Huangchu and cut the enemy's communications with Hofei. When near the enemy, he was to give a signal, and if he saw a red flag, he would know that Sun Chuan was at hand with reinforcements. These two had the farthest to go and started first. Then Lu Meng was sent into Wu Lin, the Black Forest, with 3 companies as a support. Kan Ning was ordered to set fire to the camp. A 4th party was to go to the borders of Ailing and attack as soon as the signal from the forest was seen. A 5th party of 3 companies went to Hanyang to fall upon the enemy along the river. Their signal was a white flag, and a 6th division supported them. When these 6 parties had gone off, Huang Kai got ready his fire ships and sent a soldier with a note to tell Tsao that he was coming over that evening. 4 fighting ships were told off to support Huang Kai. The 4 squadrons, each of 300 ships, were placed under 4 commanders, Han Tang, Chu Ti, Chiang Xiachin, and Xiachen Wu. The score of fire ships preceded them. Chu Yu and Xiachen Piu went on board one of the large ships to direct the battle. Their guards were Ting Feng and Su Sheng. Lu Su, Kan Tser, and the advisors were left to guard the camp. Xiachen Piu was greatly impressed with Chu Yu's ordering of the attack. Then came a messenger bearing a mandate from Sun Chuan making Lu Sun leader of the van. He was ordered to go to Chihuang. The Marquis himself would support him. Chu Yu also sent a man to the western hills to make signals and to hoist flags on the Namping Mountains. So all being prepared, they waited for dusk. Here it is necessary to diverge from the direct narrative to say that Yuan Ter was at Sayaku anxiously awaiting the return of his advisor. Then appeared a fleet, led by Liu Xiechi, who had come to find out how matters were progressing. Yuan Ter sent to call him to the battle tower and told him of the southeast wind that had begun to blow and that Ko Yun had gone to meet Ming. Not long after, a single sail was seen coming up before the wind, and he knew it was Ming, the instructor of the army. So he and Liu Xiechi went down to meet the boat. Soon the vessel reached the shore, and Ming and Ko Yun disembarked. Yuan Ter was very glad, and after they had inquired after each other's well-being, Ming said, "There is no time to tell of any other things now. Are the soldiers and ships ready?" "They have long been ready," replied Yuan Ter. "They only await you to direct how they are to be used." The 3 then went to the tent and took their seats. Ming at once began to issue orders. Ko Yun, with 3 companies, is to cross the river and go to the Wu Lin by the minor road. He will choose a dense jungle and prepare an ambush. Tonight, after the 4th watch, Tsao will hurry along that way. When half his men have passed, the jungle is to be fired. Tsao will not be wholly destroyed, but many will perish. "There are 2 roads," said Ko Yun. "One leads to the southern districts and the other to Qingqiu. I do not know by which he will come. The south road is too dangerous. Tsao will certainly pass along the Qingqiu road, so that he may get away to Sucheng." Then Ko Yun went away. Next Ming said to Chang Fei, "You will take 3 companies over the river to cut the road to Ailing. You will ambush in the Hulu Valley. Tsao, not daring to go to South Ailing, will go to North Ailing. Tomorrow, after the rain, he will halt to refresh his men. As soon as the smoke is seen to rise from their cooking fires, you will fire the hillside. You will not capture Tsao, but you will render excellent service." So Chang Fei left. Next was called Mai Chu, Mai Fang, and Liu Feng. They were to take command of 3 squadrons and go along the river to collect the weapons that the beaten soldiers would throw away. The 3 left. Then Ming said to Liu Xiechi, "The country around Wuchang is very important, and I wish you to take command of your own troops and station them at strategic points. Tsao, being defeated, will flee thither, and you will capture him. but you are not to leave the city without the best of reasons." And Liu Xieqi took leave. Then K. Ungming said to Yuan Ter, "I wish you to remain quietly and calmly in Fangku while Chu Yu works out his great scheme this night." All this time Kuan Yu has been silently waiting his turn, but K. Ungming said no word to him. When he could bear this no longer, he cried, "Since I first followed my brother to battle many years ago, I have never been left behind. Now that great things are afoot, is there no work for me? What is meant by it? You should not be surprised. I wanted you for service at a most important point, only that there was a something standing in the way that prevented me from sending you," said K. Ungming. "What could stand in the way? I wish you would tell me. You see, Tsao was once very kind to you, and you cannot help feeling grateful. Now, when his soldiers have been beaten, he will have to flee along the Hueyong Road, and if I sent you to guard it, you would have to let him pass. So I will not send you. You are most considerate instructor. But though it is true that he treated me well, yet I slew 2 of his most redoubtable opponents by way of repayment, beside raising a siege. If I happen upon him on this occasion, I should hardly let him go. But what if you did? You could deal with me by military rules. Then put that in writing." So Kuan Yu wrote a formal undertaking and gave the document to K. Ungming. "What happens if Tsao does not pass that way?" said Kuan Yu. "I will give you a written engagement that he will pass." Then he continued, "On the hills by the Hueyong Valley you are to raise a heap of wood and grass to make a great column of smoke, and mislead Tsao into coming. If Tsao sees a smoke, he will suspect an ambush and will not come," said Kuan Yu. "You are very simple," said K. Ungming. "Do you not know more of war's ruses than that? Tsao is an able leader, but you can deceive him this time. When he sees the smoke, he will take it as a subterfuge and risk going that way. But do not let your kindness of heart rule your conduct." Thus was his duty assigned Kuan Yu, and he left, taking his adopted son, Piying, Chu Tsang, and a half-company of swordsmen. Said Liu Pei, "His sense of rectitude is very profound. I fear if Tsao should come that way that my brother will let him pass. I have consulted the stars, and Tsao, the rebel, is not fated to come to his end yet. I have purposely designed this manifestation of kindly feeling for Kuan Yu to accomplish, and so act handsomely. Indeed, there are few such far-seeing men as you are," said Yuan Ter. The 2 then went to Fangku, whence they might watch Chu Yu's evolutions. Sun Chuan and Qin Yung were left on guard. Tsao was in his great camp in conference with his advisors, and awaiting the arrival of Huang Kai. The southeast wind was very strong that day, and Chang Yu was insisting on the necessity for precaution. But Tsao laughed, saying, "The winter solstice depends upon the sun and nothing else. There is sure to be a south wind at someone or other of its recurrences. I see nothing to wonder at." Just then they announced the arrival of a small boat from the other shore with a letter from Huang Kai. The bearer of the letter was brought in and presented it. It stated that Chu Yu had kept such strict watch that there had been no chance of escape. But now some grain was coming down river, and Huang Kai had been named as escort commander, which would give him the opportunity he desired. He would slay one of the known captains and bring his head as an offering when he came. That evening at the 3rd watch, if boats were seen with dragon-toothed flags, they would be the grain boats. This letter delighted Tsao who, with his officers, went to the naval camp and boarded a great ship to watch for the arrival of Huang Kai. In Chiangtung, when evening fell, Chu Yu sent for Tsao Ho and bade the soldiers bind him. The unhappy man protested that he had committed no crime, but Chu Yu said, "What sort of a fellow are you, think you, to come and pretend to desert to my side? I need a small sacrifice for my flag, and your head will serve my purpose. So I am going to us it. Tsi Ho, being at the end of his tether, unable to deny the charge, suddenly cried, "Two of your own side, Kan Tser and Kan Ning, are also in the plot." "Under my directions," said Chu Yu. Tsi Ho was exceedingly repentant and sad, but Chu Yu bade them take him to the river bank where the black standard had been set up, and there, after the pouring of a libation and the burning of paper, he was beheaded, his blood being a sacrifice to the flag. This ceremony over the ship started, and Huang Kai took his place on the third ship. He merely wore breast armor and carried a keen blade. On his flag were written 4 large characters, Van Leader Huang Kai. With a fair wind, his fleet sailed towards Chihpi, or Red Wall. The wind was strong and the waves ran high. Tsao, in the midst of the central squadron, eagerly scanned the river, which rolled down under the bright moon like a silver serpent writhing in innumerable folds. Letting the wind blow full in his face, Tsao laughed aloud, for was he not now to obtain his desire? Then a soldier, pointing to the river, said, "The whole south is one mass of sails, and they are coming up on the wind." Tsao went to a higher point and gazed at the sails intently, and his men told him that the flags were black and dragon-shaped and indented, and among them there flew one very large banner on which was a name, Huang Kai. "That is my friend the deserter," said he joyfully. "Heaven is on my side today." As the ships drew closer, Chiang Yu said, "Those ships are treacherous. Do not let them approach the camp." "How know you that?" asked Tsao. And Chiang Yu replied, "If they were laden with grain, they would lie deep in the water. But these are light and float easily. The southeast wind is very strong, and if they intend treachery, how can we defend ourselves?" Tsao began to understand. Then he asked who would go out to stop them, and Wen Ping volunteered. "I am well used to the waters," said he. Thereupon he sprang into a small light craft and sailed out, followed by a half-score cruisers which came at his signal. Standing in the prow of his ship, he called out to those advancing toward them, "You southern ships are not to approach. Such are the orders of the minister. Stop there in midstream." The soldiers all yelled to them to lower their sails. The shout had not died away when a bowstring twanged, and Wen Ping rolled down into the ship with an arrow in the left arm. Confusion reigned on his ship, and all the others hurried back to their camp. When the ships were about a couple of li distant, Huang Kai waved his sword, and the leading ships broke forth into fire, which, under the force of the strong wind, soon gained strength, and the ships became as fiery arrows. Soon the whole 20 dashed into the naval camp. All Tsao ships were gathered there, and as they wore firmly chained together, not one could escape from the others and flee. There was a roar of bombs, and fireships came on from all sides at once. The face of the 3 rivers was speedily covered with fire, which flew before the wind from one ship to another. It seemed as if the universe was filled with flame. Tsao hastened toward the shore. Huang Kai, with a few men at his back, leaped into a small boat, dashed through the fire, and sought Tsao. He, seeing the imminence of the danger, was making for the land. Chang Liu got hold of a small boat into which he helped his master. None too soon, for the ship was burning. They got Tsao out of the thick of the fire, and dashed for the bank. Huang Kai, seeing a handsomely robed person get into a small boat, guessed it must be Tsao, and pursued. He drew very near and he held his keen blade ready to strike, crying out, "You rebel! Do not flee! I am Huang Kai." Tsao howled in the bitterness of his distress. Chang Liu fitted an arrow to his bow and aimed at the pursuer, shooting at short range. The roaring of the gale and the flames kept Huang Kai from hearing the twang of the string, and he was wounded in the shoulder. He fell and rolled over into the water. He fell in peril of water when flames were high. Ere cudgel bruises had faded, an arrow struck. Huang Kai's fate will be told in the next chapter.